Well, our final speaker today is one of America's leading multimedia personalities. He is the founder and owner of The Blaze, a 24/7 news, information, and opinion network that is available on television and online and attracts 10 million unique visitors every month. He has the third highest rated radio program in America, and he is one of the few authors in history to have the #1 New York Times bestsellers in both fiction and nonfiction. We are delighted to have him back at the Values Voters Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Glenn Beck.
You like the bow tie? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome, and thank you for standing. Thank you for being a group of people that are not just frustrated, but ready to fix it and ready to chart a new course. I want to just show you where we're at in a positive way. I think we are on the verge of extraordinary times, much more extraordinary than anybody believes. And I think our vision is way too small. I think our vision, we're a group of people that are arguing about, well, we should reduce the deficit. We should stop all this crazy spending. What are you, crazy? Look at our country. Look at the world. It's on fire. The entire system is broken. It doesn't work. So let's think a little bigger. Right now we're talking about, oh, gee, should we compromise on Obamacare? That's the small picture, though. That's the small picture. So what are we going to chart? Where do we end up? Because I guarantee you, they don't let the press in these meetings, but in the meetings with the Soros clan, they are charting a brave new world. There are people that are charting a new world, new monetary system, new way to live and to work. And it's not really a secret. You look at what Google is doing. Google is already laying the fiber for new cities, new ways to communicate with each other. Artificial intelligence is on the horizon, something called the singularity. The singularity is the merging of man and machine. The world is on the precipice of profound change, and it's good. It will be terrifying if you're not aware of it. If you are trying to hold on to the old world, it will be terrifying. Or if you are caught unaware. Because if you're caught unaware, somebody else has done all the designing for you. Somebody's already made all of the choices. Well, that's not the principles of our country. Quite honestly, those aren't the principles of God. The principles of God are all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That means you are unique. You are here for a reason. Everybody is. And you're created with different ideas and different feelings and different talents. And it's not for Microsoft or Google or Common Core to scan our eyes and to test us and to figure out exactly which corporation we should work for. That's not what we were sent here to do. Nobody was sent down to earth to be an accountant because somebody in Common Core said, you're going to make a great accountant. We were sent here for a higher reason. And I don't know what your reason is. I barely know my reason. But we have to now take everything out, because the world is about to change. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and about 20 years ago now, 20 years ago, I was down on the ground and had one choice, live or die. That was it. It was just that basic, live or die. Okay? When you're there and you want to live, you realize what I think I know isn't true. There's something inside of me that's in conflict because this isn't working. And I'm telling you now, we should all try to consider all of ourselves an alcoholic, because what we're doing as a country, as a people on earth, isn't working. And so we have to choose now, live or die. And once you've made that choice, then you take what you have inside, what you've always been raised to believe, and you have to challenge it. Take everything out. This is a really scary thing. Take everything out of you and look at it. Why do I believe that? Is that actually true? Or do I believe that because somebody told me that? Have I ever even done my own homework? What do I know? It's a frightening prospect because most people are afraid. Most people think I'm not any better than I am right now. In fact, I'm kind of faking it. If people knew, I'm barely making it. That's what people, all of us are thinking it, but we're all too afraid to say it. Imagine the world if we were all just willing to be ourselves. If we were willing to speak the truth as we know it. If we were willing to say, I don't know what the heck you're even talking about. If we were willing to risk. If we were willing to make that one phone call that we've all been avoiding because it's going to be awkward, but we think about it all the time. Call your dad. Call your sister. Do that one thing that you've been avoiding because it's going to be uncomfortable. Imagine how much the world changes if we just do the basics and find out who we really are, what you're really here for. Because I can guarantee you, 90% of what you're living, and I mean this with me too, is garbage. Well, I don't have time to do all that. Really? And remember, I'm a guy who's a founder of a new TV network. How much time are you spending in front of TV? How much time are you spending on the phone? How much time are we spending doing this? How many times do our kids sit with us at dinner? Have you ever noticed? Have you ever looked up and seen everybody at the table doing this? And have you ever just said, excuse me, give me all your phones? Because that's what I did. I said to my family, give them to me. Nobody has them. I actually put up, we have a chalkboard in our house. It's in our kitchen. By the way, it is obviously very true what they say about you. I notice you didn't have a blackboard. You racists. I put on our chalkboard at home because my son was having a hard time getting off the computer and playing video games. He was into Minecraft, and when he said, Dad, you know what? We should build a fort. And we were out on our farm, and I'm like, that's the greatest idea. Yes, let's build a fort. And I said, let's go see what we have in the barn. Let's go get some stuff. And he said, oh no, I don't mean like here. I said, where? And he said, Minecraft. I said, Minecraft? And he said, oh, it's so much better in Minecraft. And I said, congratulations, you're never playing that again. And when I caught him on it again, I wrote on the chalkboard, the next person in this household that is caught playing any video game at all electronics, including the television, can be found at the bottom of the pool. And then I sat down with him and I said, and don't think I don't mean it. I'll do it. And the family fundamentally changed. The family fundamentally changed overnight. But too many of us don't want to do it. Even I didn't want to do it because I wanted to have I want the access. I want to be able to do it. And then I realized, wait a minute. It doesn't have to necessarily apply to me. I'm the adult. The family changes because we sat down and started relating to each other. I could never find time in my family to read the scriptures because it was always at the end of the night. And we're all like, okay, all right, let's read our scriptures. And we would read like 3 verses together. And we're like, that's really not giving God his due. And so finally, the only place I could figure out where I knew the family would be together, I made the rule in the family, nobody's eating unless you're coming with your scriptures. And we feast on the word. And at dinner, we read our scriptures. And we read them every night now, and our family has fundamentally changed. It's not hard to fix the things that are wrong in our world. Because what's wrong in our world is we are all individually broken. Each of us, individually broken, individually afraid of something, individually hiding, individually not accepting the atonement, whatever it is. And so we are lured in. And we lose our way. And we start believing the lies that someone else can make the choice for you. Someone else will chart your course. That really it's better to have somebody just give it to you for free. No, it's not. The only thing in life that's worth anything are the things that you earned. The things that you sweat over, the things that you toil over. I can guarantee, think of the time in your life that was the best time of your life. I'll bet you it was also the toughest time in your life. I'll bet you it was also the time where you and your wife, you and your family, or just you were struggling so hard. Because that time was real. And this society is taking away all of our struggles. It's saying nobody should struggle. Nobody should have hardship. If your bank, we can't let the bank fail. Let the bank fail. The only way they'll learn is if they fail. So, let me look at who are we? Who are we as a collection of people? The world will tell you that all we are consumers. And you know what? They're right. That's all we've allowed ourselves to become. Consumers. You know, when our founders came here and we started building towns in New England, what was at the center of our towns? The church and the town green. Can you even tell me the center of most of our towns? If it is, it's a shopping mall. And if it doesn't have a center, even think of this, it doesn't even have a center, it's just a strip mall. No wonder we're lost. Tell me, what are the biggest problems in our households and our families? The biggest problems in our households and our families? We're fat, and I've enjoyed every pound. We are fat, and we are addicted to entertainment and television. Now, let me ask you, if you're designing a house, what's at the center of your house? Your kitchen and your TV room. What we design is at the center, and it is who we are. What we create is who we are. So it's time to redesign a few things. If you want real change, it's time to redesign and be a part of that process. And have an open process. Who are we? Exceptional? That's the argument. You're not exceptional. This is not an exceptional country. I beg to differ with you. The whole world was reading everything by candlelight and wiping themselves with leaves. I think just on those two things, we're pretty exceptional. It's not by happenstance. It's not by happenstance. If there's any electrical engineers or scientists or anybody in the room, I would love, this is just a theory of mine, I have nothing to back this up, but I've studied a lot about Tesla recently, and I really think that there were two leaders in electricity. There was the United States and there was France. And I'm starting to read about Faraday and everything else, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Why was France? Why France? Well, guess who was there in France? Everybody had a plate with his picture on it in France. He was a huge celebrity. Everybody read his work. Ben Franklin. I will bet you it is our country that led the French to the exceptional understanding of electricity. It was our founders. I, again, have nothing to back that up, but I'll bet you it's right. It's too much of a coincidence because Ben Franklin was an exciting guy. He was so far beyond Steve Jobs. I mean, they didn't let him into the port in London. The London Times actually said, don't let Ben Franklin's ship come to dock because he's been messing around with electricity. I'm not kidding you. He has a death ray. They thought he was, it was sci-fi stuff. He was an exciting guy. So are we exceptional? Here's where the difference comes. What people always misunderstand is they confuse exceptional with manifest destiny. Manifest destiny is a lie. Manifest destiny leads to slaughter. Manifest destiny is man saying, I'm led by God, and God is telling me that that's our land, and we'll take it. That's arrogance. That's not exceptional. That's arrogance. So we are exceptional. And when we're arrogant, we're wrong. We're not exceptional. I'll show you how schizophrenic we are. The year we went and landed on the moon, what else happened? That same month, the same summer, you have a choice, said Moses. Light or dark, life or death, good or evil, which will you be? It couldn't be more stark. Roll around in the mud or reach into the heavens. It's the same choice we have right now. Which will you be? And the problem with the Republicans, problem number 1,744, is there's no vision. There's no vision. The vision used to come from our pulpits. Let's listen to all of the pastors crying out. Where are they? There's no vision in our pulpits. And without vision, the people shall perish. I want to show you. I'm going to show you what a remarkable age you're living in. Somebody go online right now and look up baby Nauer. Somebody just Google search, help them out on their way of trying to create artificial intelligence. And Google search baby Nauer. If anybody has it, when you have it, let me know, baby Nauer. Thank you. Have you ever heard that name? Okay. Look at this. Look how exceptional things are. Don't tell me you have to spend a lot of money going to an Ivy League school where they're just going to teach you a bunch of Marxist principles. Don't tell me that you need to have some sheet of paper that tells everybody else that you had some ego-driven maniac misinterpret history and teach you half of the history when you have the internet. If you're curious, you can find the answer. If you're stupid, I warn you, you'll have to search and figure out which is true and which is not, and Wikipedia is not going to help you on that. But you can find the answer. So who is Baby Nauer? Baby Nauer was the compassionate side of Hitler. Baby Nauer was the first one to be euthanized. Baby Nauer was the baby born without limbs, deaf, blind, and the parents said, "We can't afford this child. The state can't afford this child. This child is going to live in misery, have no quality of life whatsoever." And the doctor said, "Well, I can't do anything myself. Boy, I think you make a good case, and here, let's have you make this case relentlessly in the newspapers. Maybe you should write to the Fuhrer, because he seems like a compassionate man too." And the Fuhrer was so compassionate, he sent his own doctors to examine poor little Baby Nauer and then sit with the parents and see their struggle and see their heartache. And so Hitler decreed that even my doctors, the best doctors, even they say this baby will have no real quality of life. And so, to relieve that baby's pain and to relieve the financial burden on our society, because who's going to pay for this child in its whole life? We will put it out of its misery. That's who Baby Nauer is. Victim number 1. T4 program. T4 program quickly followed that, because once you kill one, well, you got to find all the others that really don't have a good quality of life and are a drain on society. Because remember, the Weimar Republic, they spent all of that money, but good thing we have universal health care. Good thing we have universal health care, because now we have to figure out who's going to live and die, who has a chance of living, and who's a drain on society. And they boiled it down, no pun intended, to potatoes. How many potatoes can you produce compared to how many potatoes can you eat? And if you could produce more than you eat, you live. Well, if you're mentally unstable, if you're physically handicapped, sorry, you're eating too many potatoes. And so what did they do? The compassionate doctors and nurses, the greatest minds of science, backed up a giant truck to the hospital and wheeled patients in, closed the door, and took a hose from the exhaust and stuck it in the back of the truck as they heard the patients inside struggling to live. And that's when Mengele and his group said there has to be a faster way to do this, a more compassionate way, and they found it. That information is at your fingertips. You don't need somebody to teach you that. You have to be curious. Jesus said, "Come to me as a child." What does a child always say? Why? Come to me as a child. Never stop asking why. When you continually ask why, you will forever stay young here. The minute you stop asking why, you might as well find yourself a plot under a tree. The purple triangle. We all know about these are And I'm sure the mainstream media is going to say, here he is. He's a Nazi Holocaust lover. He loves the Nazis. Yeah. Why don't you try writing this one in context? We all know about the triangles and the stars. This one, if you had a green triangle, it meant that you were a criminal. It also meant if you wore it as an armband in the concentration camps, you were in charge of all the other prisoners. Isn't it interesting how bad societies always let the really worst parts of society run the camp? So you ran the camp if you were a criminal, a murderer, rapist. This is actually, I believe this is the red one. This means you were a capitalist or a communist. You were anything but a National Socialist. You could have been, I believe, black was an anarchist. This meant you were a Jewish criminal. This meant a communist here. And that's just a Jewish person. This is a Jewish blue. I'm trying to remember. They had categorized everyone. Blue, I believe, was... oh, shoot, now I've lost it. Guys, I've left it behind the other star. The other star that I have, I'm sorry to say I left it backstage, is purple. Does anybody know what the purple triangle was? No, not gay. That was pink. Brown was gypsy. Black was anarchist. Purple, Bible scholar. If you knew anything about the Bible, you were an enemy of the state. Why? Why? Because the truth shall set you free, not work. The truth shall set you free. If you know the Scriptures, and you truly know the Scriptures, you know the Scriptures are not to dominate someone. That's unrighteous dominion. Somebody behind my chalkboard? Thank you. Here's the purple triangle. Not unrighteous dominion. It is about serving your fellow man. Serving God is serving your fellow man. That's Benjamin Franklin. Franklin said, what's the American religion? There is a God. He's going to judge us. We should serve him. Best way to serve him, serve our fellow man. That's the American religion. That's why we're charitable. That we can all agree on. My good friend Penn Jillette, who's an atheist, he doesn't have to believe in the first part. He's got the last part. Serve your fellow man. Be good, be kind, be generous. That's why we're exceptional. That's why you wore the purple triangle. Because that's what you get from Judeo-Christian values. And how many of us even know them? How many of us really know our history at all? What was the black stork? Anybody ever heard of the black stork? I looked for about 2 months. It was a movie, a silent movie. I've only found one copy, really bad condition. It was buried in a library, I think in South Carolina. Actually, I'm going to give the credit to North Carolina because South Carolina is not going to get any credit for anything until they fix the Lindsey Graham problem. But that wasn't very Christ-like, was it? Oh, well, I'm not Jesus. The Black Stork. The Black Stork was a movie by eugenicists in the United States that made the same case, Baby Nauer, but they made the case in film for Americans 20 years before Hitler did. We led the way because we are exceptional. moon landing, Woodstock, exceptional or manifest destiny. We lead the way, and we're leading the way again. Tesla versus Edison. How many of us really know who Thomas Edison was? Do you know the story of Topsy the elephant? Topsy the elephant is one of the greatest stories in American history. Topsy the elephant was the end. And you can Google this and watch the film, Edison Films. Topsy the elephant was the end of Edison's long-storied Westinghousing career. You know what Westinghousing was? What was it? No, that's Westinghouse. Westinghousing was what Edison tried to get people to call electrocution. Because Westinghouse was with AC. He was DC. He wanted battery power. Westinghouse and Tesla said, no, that's not the way to do it. And so Edison had all of his money wrapped into this, so he had to go and he went with Wall Street, and he got together with all these really wicked people, and he said, you know the best way to kill people? There was a dentist who said there's got to be a humane way to kill people on death row. He was a dentist up, I think, in Rochester or Buffalo, New York. He said there's got to be a humane way to kill people. And so he wrote to Edison several times, and Edison kept dismissing it until Edison started getting his butt kicked by Westinghouse. And then he looked at that letter and he said, oh, yes, doctor, I can help you. You should use the Westinghouse system. You should try electrocution. It was horrible, horrible. And no one in the press ever made Edison ever answer for what he did. Look up the first electrocution in American history. Horrifying. Edison did it. But Edison wasn't done just there. He also put on a little stage show, and he traveled the country with his little stage show. He didn't actually do it. He just winked and a nod. Hey, that's kind of crazy over there, huh? Glad I'm not involved with any of that. They would go around and they would take AC current from Westinghouse and they would electrocute horses, cattle, dogs, and they'd draw a crowd. The only one that Edison did himself was Topsy the elephant. There was an elephant that was horribly abused up at Coney Island, and his trainer would burn him with cigarettes. And he would stuff these cigarettes and cigars up the elephant's trunk. And one day the elephant broke loose and stomped the guy to death. Amen. But instead, Edison saw an opportunity. That elephant needs to be destroyed. So he went and he filmed it. And they strapped him to copper boots on a copper plate, chained him, and electrocuted Topsy the elephant. It's horrifying. Now, I'm happy to report, in the end, Edison died miserable because his company, has anybody ever wondered whatever happened to the Edison Electric Light Company? Thank you. It became General Electric. He was absorbed by one of the guys he thought he was screwing over at General Electric. Now, they haven't changed much. And they came in and took it and told Edison by telegram, congratulations, you've just merged with General Electric. And he said, well, I'm glad it's going to be the Edison General Electric Company. And they said, no, Tom, you're out. And he was a broken man. But he got what he deserved, quite honestly. Because of the way he was treating people, the way he was manipulating the system, the way he was manipulating Wall Street and everything else. He wasn't willing to really just let the chips fall where they may. Where Tesla, on the other hand, believed in American exceptionalism. Tesla came into America on the boat. I think he had $10. He may have been $20, and this is just off the top of my head. So you're going to have to do your own homework on this. But he had maybe $10 or $20, and I think it might have even been stolen by the time he arrived here. He had no money. He didn't know what to do. He gets off the boat, and he's like, but what a country. Like Yakov Smirnoff, what a country. And he's walking down the streets. And he hears some guy swearing up a storm. I mean, he's just off the boat. And he's walking down the street. And he hears some guy swearing up a storm. And he looks in. And he sees a guy just swearing at an engine that was a Tesla engine. And the guy couldn't fix it. And so Nikolai Tesla walked into the place and he said, maybe I could help. He's like, oh, you can't fix this thing. This thing's, I don't know who invented this, but this is a nightmare. He said, I don't know either, but maybe I can help. He fixed it. And the guy was so pleased, I can't remember what it was, but it was like $100 or $200. It was a lot of money at the time. And Tesla walked out. What a country. When he gave up his patents, he gave up his rights to Westinghouse because Westinghouse was being killed by Edison, and it was about to go under, and Tesla turned his shares of stock that he earned, rightfully so, turned his shares of stock back to Westinghouse, said, take it. Westinghouse said, you don't have to do that, Nikolai. I mean, you worked hard for these. He said, there's something else on the horizon, it won't matter. That's who Americans are. That's who we are. We believe there's a better tomorrow. We believe there's a way to make it. We don't say you'll never make it unless you come through me. We say somehow or another it's all going to work out. And even the struggle is going to be good. Because people are good. Because the system is good. So, why are the Republicans at 28% approval? I'm surprised they're that high. They will tell you because of people like Ted Cruz or people like Mike Lee. That couldn't be further from the truth. I believe those two guys are stopping the Republicans from having an 18% approval rating. These guys are truly remarkable. Think of this. They both went to their constituents in an election and said, this is exactly who I am, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. And now they're getting hammered by the press and the Republicans for doing exactly what they said they were going to do. That's how upside down the world is. And the press just sits there and they say, I know, aren't they insane? They're crazy out of control. Sure, they told the voters that it'd be exactly what they would do, but no sane person believed them. I'm sorry, I live in Texas. All Texans believed that's exactly what he was going to do, and that's why we voted for him. And the John Cornyn's of the world, let me ask you this one. Somebody do the math on this one. Harry Reid swoops in to save the day with the soldiers. This abomination of what Hagel did and what the administration did. The death benefits. He swoops in and saves the day. And the Senate passes this bill to make sure the death benefits go to the soldiers, as they should have. And then what does Harry Reid do? He names it the John Cornyn bill? What? For what reason? You're looking at a one-party system. You're looking at a system with John Boehner, John Cornyn, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Chuck Schumer, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi. They're all the same. They're all the same. And I am thrilled to say we are finally standing up. We are finally saying, no, This is what we believe, and we will not move. I'm tired of people saying, oh, but we might lose. Yes, and we just might win. President Obama has a 38% approval rating. Zero has a 38. Same time at 40% was Bush. The worst president in the history of the world was 3 points higher at this point in his career. The guy who had the press going after him saying, I think he might actually be a vampire. He might be Vlad the Impaler. Look at him. He's the undead. Look at what they did to him. He had a higher approval rating at this point. I'm surprised the press isn't just photoshopping a toga and a laurel around the president's head in every shop now, going, I think he actually is a Greek god. He has the movies. He has the university systems. He has television. He has the news. He has GE, Comcast, and NBC. And he's got a lower approval rating than Bush. Hello, reality call. Why are we believing this? Why do we look at the news that we all know is garbage and go, oh yeah, but boy, the Republicans are getting their head handed. What? Stop it! It's crazy. Your teenager versus 14-year-old George Washington. Your teenager versus a 14-year-old George Washington. I just did at my church. My church is, we cut loose with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, so we're not exactly, hip-hop fashion. And I think that's what the kids are saying nowadays, right? And so we're a little stiff. Somehow or another, I worked my way in. And I had to speak in front of 1,000 youth 2 weeks ago. I scared the living daylights out of them. It was fun. And here's what I said. If you're 12, I'm not going to treat you like you're 12, or even worse, an 8-year-old. If you're 14, I'm not going to treat you like a 14-year-old. You know what George Washington was doing when he was 14? He was surveying land himself way out in the middle of Indian country by himself. He was walking up a gangplank trying to enlist in the Navy. You can't handle being told you got a bad score on your test. Come on. And you know what? I had their attention. And they know it's true. They resent the trophies they get because they're smarter than that. They know it doesn't mean anything. They know they're being filled with garbage. This is why the Campus Reform just did a survey, a video survey of University of Colorado or some crazy. What? University of Boulder. Yeah, even more crazy. University of Boulder. They do this review and say, who closed down the government? Now, what do you expect them to say? Of course, the evil Republic. You know who won? You know who they blame at this one? The president. At some point, you actually have to deliver. And they know they're being robbed of a future because we don't expect them. They're a kid until they're 25 now? Did you hear 26? I'm sorry. If there's any 25-year-olds here, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to presume that you were ready for adulthood. And the new thing is, it's not just insurance. The new studies are coming out saying that we really need to move adolescents to 26 because we'll make those who aren't really making it yet feel bad. You're making them feel bad by not expecting them to be the best that they can be. We're all born with a purpose. Again, the press. This week I said, push your kids. Push them up against the wall. Challenge them. Who gives you the right? Who gives you the right? God does. Not the government, not anybody else. God gives you the right. Push them, challenge them, push them up against the wall. It's being reported now that I'm condoning violence against children. I've got George Washington's compass, and I know how to use it. This is George Washington's compass. This is the only compass he ever owned. He was a surveyor. At 14. He had it at 14. He had it the day he died. What's amazing is one day I had some tough decisions to make in my life. And there was the exceptional way or the manifest destiny. There was the moon landing or the Woodstock. And the Woodstock was tempting. And so I took George Washington's compass out and I kept it in my pocket all day. I was on television that day with my hand in my pocket, holding his compass. Stay true. Stay true to yourself. Do the right thing, not the easy thing. And that day, I realized that there's a thumbprint right here. It actually indents right where you would put your thumb. And I recognized it because I would hold it in my pocket and I would think and I would rub my thumb there. And that's what he did. Stay true. Chart your course carefully. Stay true to those principles. But you have to know what they are first. So what is it we're missing? Well, first of all, I think we're missing a party that actually represents us. And everybody says, you don't want to start a third party. Let me tell you a little story. History repeats itself. That was exactly the argument during the Whig Party. You don't want to start a third party. Don't want to start a third party. But there were about 20 Republicans or 20 Whigs. Included in that 20 number were a few Democrats that said, you're lying to us. It's time to end slavery, and you're lying to us. You guys aren't going to do anything. We're not going to play this game anymore. Because we know slavery is wrong. And so we will stand against it. And Charles Sumner was one of the most unpopular senators. He was tearing apart the Whig Party. Everything you're hearing has happened before. And he was in the well of the Senate, and he was giving a speech when a congressman came with a wooden cane with a big, heavy brass top on it and beat him almost to death on the well of the Senate floor. The only reason why Charles Sumner lived is because he dragged himself underneath a desk and he couldn't get the cane down to bash his head anymore. Nobody went to his defense. In fact, the guy who had the cane, Charles Sumner, couldn't finish the speech for 2 years. When he did, he barely made it through. His life was destroyed. He almost died. The guy who beat him almost to death and would have beaten him to death never went to jail. Never tried. Because he had special favors, special friends. And these Republicans, they're a danger to the republic. But that moment, it was just 6 years later that a big, gawky, skinny guy with a goofy hat stood up and said, I'm a Republican and I'm going to end slavery. Abraham Lincoln. You're on the verge of winning. You're on the verge of winning. And it's going to happen quickly if you don't compromise your values. You stay the course. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to God. Raise a standard that the wise and the honest can repair. The event is in the hand of God. Thank you. God bless.